And we probably substitute physical interaction with virtual interaction. Another thinker pointed out that there would be a rise of a new kind of patriotism, where presidents, prime ministers, cricket stars, film stars would be replaced by doctors, nurses, bankers, government workers. You also may see a decline in polarization, whether cultural or social, for many reasons. You'll also see probably a fall in regulatory barriers for online tools. You may see a new virtual mature behavior emerge. Lots of changes will happen post the corona pandemic. Looking at the post of that, I'm not the expert here. I'm going to invite an expert to join the conversation. He will, of course, talk to us about how the corona pandemic will affect the world, will affect our country, but more precisely, he will shed light and share his insights as to how this virus pandemic will affect the Indian experiential industry in the years to come. He will also share with you insights as to how small and medium-sized organizations will now get new opportunities within the Indian events and activations business. I don't need to introduce him to any one of us who are from within the event fraternity in India, even within the media and entertainment fraternity in India. But for those of you who are watching from outside our fraternity, actually even you will know who he is. Yeah, that guy with the white hair, we. Yeah, he is Sanjoy K. Roy. He's co-founder and managing director of Teamwork Arts. He is president, EEMA. He is someone who leads along with his team more than 26 international festivals across 40 locations across the map of the globe. He's someone who's on many advisory bodies, whether government or non-government organizations. And I must mention here that he was awarded by the White House the President's Committee's Arts and Humanities Award many years ago. He is a very respected thought leader in the Indian media and entertainment industry. I'm going to tell him to take this conversation forward. Sanjoy, waiting for you to share with us your insights on the post-corona scenario. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Thanks so much, Geetika. Thanks, Deepak, Vinod, Vipul, Prakash, and everybody who's helped put this series together. I hope all of you out there are doing well. I know there's been an onslaught of webinars and seminars and talks, etc., to bring everybody up to speed. So what I'm going to do today is actually just divide the talk into two parts and then take questions. The first part is I'll just give you an overview on what the world is thinking, or the world that we know, the events and experiential industry and exhibition and my space is thinking. And then I will look at some perhaps opportunities for the smaller and mid-scale companies, how they can ramp up, and I'll give you the examples from our own journey to be able to help you do that. So I hope you guys have had lunch, watched the morning session, done your exercise, and washed and cleaned and mopped and been nice to the family. That's where the good news basically ends. So I've been on my Zoom and my laptop every morning, 10 o'clock through in the morning till 10 o'clock at night on conferences across the world. And the more and more we're hearing roughly the same thing. Yesterday, a very important report came out which said that the event and experiential space, including MICE, craft, etc. Can you guys hear me? I seem to have gone into an echo mode. Can you guys hear? I'm assuming, Geetika, is it okay? Yes, okay, great. So what we heard is that the total loss that's being anticipated through till June is $1 trillion. So there's a $1 trillion loss that this particular industry silo is looking at. And this includes the postponement of stuff like the Dubai Expo, London Book Fair, Paris Book Fair, part of the Olympics, not necessarily the sporting part, but the opening, closing ceremonies and all the entertainment around it. Euro 2020, the shutdown of Broadway, the shutdown of West End, a shutdown of iconic companies like Cirque du Soleil, who've sacked 95% of their personnel, etc. So what does that therefore have to offer to us? I think One of the problems that we are looking at is that we still aren't looking at this as first and foremost a global health crisis. Firstly, that's what it is. And until unless we keep that as our focus, we're not going to be able to resolve the situation. All the headlines that you see today across the world is looking at the economic issue. Of course, it's important. But guys, till we're able to nail the global health crisis, which is the spread of COVID-19 across the world, we're not going to be able to get back up to speed, because till this exists, till there is fear, till the governments continue to say that, don't step out, don't do this, don't do that, nothing is safe, shops aren't safe, you're not safe, your neighbor's not safe, condominiums are saying newspapers are not safe, staff is not safe, you can't come in, you can't go out. Till that continues, we in the event industry are basically screwed. We don't have a future. We have to start working very specifically in now building on trust, building on faith, looking at new innovations of how we can do that, new technologies, simplest technologies. I don't know whether any of you saw what I may have posted on the EEMA non-official groups with this little, a steel sort of passageway, which has created something which as you walk through, you get sanitized. We're going to see much more of that. We're going to have to open source ideas to beat this crisis. We don't have all of the ideas in one place, but collectively, maybe we'll be able to get this going. And that's an opportunity that I'm going to talk about for the MSMEs in a little while. Coming back to the global scene, as you know, across the world, everything is now shut down. Wimbledon, the Edinburgh Festivals, which is the largest in the world, every conceivable art and entertainment event, all gone, all capito, all cut. However, in the East, Singapore and Hong Kong, restaurants are still open. You can go out there, pick up your glass of wine, go with your friends, up to 5 people at a time. You can watch something that's being performed, up to 5 people at a time, with a table in the middle separating table 1 and table 3. So there is a slow comeback from where it all started, which is in the East. We need to keep a track of that, and we need to understand how they're being able to contain the situation there, despite the fact that as students and as their citizens are flying back into Hong Kong and Singapore, there has been a spike this last week. They've got new cases coming in there. They're worrying about their airports and citizens coming in. But they're focusing on the health. They're saying anybody who comes in must be locked down, voluntarily so, 14 days. Need to be tested, you must get tested. Testing is compulsory. Japan has been carrying on about how the mask has huge efficacy. Now we're hearing the World Health Organizations coming back with, yes, maybe you should be wearing the mask, because when you go out on the street, the particles still hang in the air. They fall on the street. Your shoes, when you're stepping on them, brings it back into the house. Your clothes, when you're walking through a fresh slew of sneezes, it settles on you. You don't know where. You come back into the house, you come back with it. If there's somebody with an underlying illness, they're going to get an enhanced version of COVID-19. Many of us, as you know, may have already got it. Many of us may be carriers. We are not tested. We may not know for sure. Both China and Italy, in terms of the numbers that you've seen, Italy today has come out with a formal report saying that it hasn't been reporting the real numbers because they're only reporting those people who've died and who've been tested either before or just after death. However, they've shown in district after district, the spurt in deaths comparatively to March 2019 and March 2020 is huge. And there's an anomaly there. And that is primarily, again, due to this. So we need to be super focused in our industry. If we want to get back up to doing exhibitions, to be doing corporate roadshows, to be able to do activations, to be able to do concerts and events, and to be able to take out trade conferences across the world, we have to build trust, guys. And we can't do that if we continue to be in a space of fear. We will continue to be in a space of fear until unless we work collectively with new and fresh ideas to be able to contain what is primarily, again, I repeat myself, primarily and foremost, a health crisis. The world has gone through SARS. The world has been able to conquer HIV. There have been huge number of deaths in both cases. SARS didn't live up necessarily to the expectation of the millions that it was supposed to kill. This too, hopefully, will not get to that level. But in order to do that, the world has to do much more, and each one of us is responsible. On the webinar that I was on just before this with about 40 odd not agency, but organization heads, meaning association heads from across India, etc. One of the things that we're hearing is that collectively we need to go to government, which, as you know, at EEMA, we've done this with FICCI, we've done it with CII, we've also reached out to the PhD chambers. And to bring you guys up to speed, all we're asking for is 4 or 5 aspects. We're saying, please help with tax refunds, which are due to companies. That will help them with their cash flow. For government, central government and state government who have engaged an event company in an activity which has been completed or is work in progress, please pay them their dues. Please give them their advance. Please waive the bank guarantees that you've asked for so that, again, it ensures cash into the system. The third thing, we've asked for a GST waiver, which I don't think is going to happen because states have already pushed back on that score. What we have done is we've asked MSME to be able to relook at the loan criteria. Make it far more accessible for the smallest to the medium-sized companies, ensure that they can access the loans, even if they're not profitable, at much better rates of interest, and at least ensure that, again, cash comes into the system. We've also asked for help for salaries, waiver of electricity because offices are closed. Gujarat has already done so, for those of you who may know. So we're again, but these are state government requests that we are going out to saying, please do that. So maybe some of this will play across the MSME sector. We are not getting a sense whether they're going to be announcing this anytime soon. The task forces have been at work. Every possible segment in industry has been there. And the other thing that I appeal to all of you is that, guys, in the same way that, say, a PVR has turned around and said, no, we're not going to be paying rent and we're going to bring into play the force majeure clause. Some major corporates are also looking at that. Our request to all corporates have been, please, whatever you do, do it with empathy. If you stop money paying your vendors, your agencies, your event managers, your ecosystem will shut down. Similarly, even with us, we all have bills to pay. We have our salaries, we have taxes, we have vendors. We must rationalize and ensure that we're trying to do, as far as possible, all three. Similarly, if the corporate doesn't pay us, we don't pay our vendors, vendors don't pay the daily workers, artists don't get paid, they don't eat, and the whole system just locks down. What I'm requesting is that each of you know your cash flows, not going to be easy, but keep in mind that even if you do a small trickle down, must do it for vendors and for artists and for anchors and everybody else. So at least people can continue to pay their rent, they can afford their medication, they can afford a food. This is an essential. Yes, your company's survival comes first. If your company is dead, your employees are dead. So I understand that, but be empathetic. That's the only advice that one can share at this point of time. Be empathetic because we do want the system to flow. The one thing that I'm hearing, again, this was, I think, part of a conversation that the Prime Minister had with the Chief Ministers yesterday. I'm not entirely clear whether this has been confirmed, but what we heard is that they're saying social isolation or social distancing all the way till October. So even on the 14th, when this lifts, we are getting to hear that you'll still have up to 5 people, not everybody go to office, certainly no events, certainly no theater, certainly no religious gatherings, no weddings or weddings even, but a very limited number of people. So our world is not going to come back up to speed April 15th. On the corporate level, again, what we're hearing, I sit on something called the World Luxury Council. And there what we're hearing is that their shelves, all their products are going to go off the shelf by mid-April because no production, no supply chain, nobody buying, not essential services. It's out of the system. Not enough people to be able to kickstart being able to make it. So you're going to see production lines and supply chains only up to speed, maybe September, October. Their big worry is that they feel that all of us will start getting used to staying local, eating local, buying local, wearing local, and we're like, why do we need any of this other stuff? So demand will go down. Demand goes down, their stuff doesn't fly off the shelves. You don't get an opportunity in many ways to be able to do those activation events for them. The world has changed, as Gitika has said. The world changed in 9/11. The world keeps changing. This is one of those headline world-changing events. It's not going to be back to normal. We have changed inevitably forever. The wheel of fortune has once again changed. So what do? What do small and medium-sized companies or the bigger companies do? In Hindu philosophy, and without in any way offending anybody, and apologies for using Hindu philosophy, but I'm sure this sort of translates across philosophies. In Hindu philosophy, destruction and creation is part of a process. It comes together. It's like Ardhanareshwari. There's a yin and a yang. It's the balance of it that is important. Go the other, one side, you go one way, you go the other side, you go the other way. Similarly, destruction and creation come together. So how can we create? What is the opportunity here for small and mid-sized and big companies to do? I think the most important thing and what differentiates you to many of the rest of us is that you're agile, you're small, you are a cohesive force. There are a few of you. Hopefully your philosophies are one, you're aligned together, your needs are less, your office space requirement is less, you're able to think on your feet and bring about change and innovation much faster than any of us. I'll give you an example. I'd put out to my colleagues in teamwork, I'd said, I want to run this Art Matters series because artists are calling me all the time or calling us all the time because that's our ecosystem. And these are poor artists from Jaisalmer and the Bowls of Bengal and the Ragis and Gurdwaras and the Thayyam performers and the puppeteers from Andhra and the Patchitra guys. And nobody has work. If you don't perform, you don't eat. If you don't sell your Patchitra, you don't eat. If you don't sell your Madhubani painting, no food on the table. So I was very keen that we do an Art Matters series. And I told my colleagues, listen, this is what I want you to do. Get all the artists to record how difficult it's been for them, that they haven't eaten, they haven't had any money. and that they need support. Quite simple. By the time this percolated across between a digital team, communication team, 3 PR agencies, production team, blah, 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 blah. Yesterday, I suddenly realized when I saw all of these artist videos coming in, that there were these fancy, fabulous, incredible stuff that was rolling in, which had nothing to do with what I'd said, which was why we wanted to do the campaign of Art Matters. And just before I started this, that's what I was doing, getting everybody back online together, 45 people back on a Zoom call to give them the intent of why we started this. So smaller companies, mid-sized companies, you guys are small. You guys can come together very swiftly, convert an idea into reality. And for those of you who have equipment or have been in the rental business or have space, and that's what your ecosystem has been, now start thinking differently. Say that this is what I have. So what is it that I can do with the stuff? For the smaller people in social events, can you convert homes for smaller weddings? Can you use that saving for families to do something that's more interesting and more spaced out, for example, rather than the big 10,000 people wedding on a cruise ship or on a big set? Can you do very, very niche, curated, room per room events where every room has a different feel, a different sense, a different look? And like Reliance, like the big Reliance wedding did, because they had to have 300,000 people, etc., go through their whole system, can you all instead just create for smaller numbers of people, smaller, more premium and exclusive opportunities? Similarly, in the activation space, if you're going to be sitting and waiting there for your clients to get back to you and say, this is what we want you to do. This is our new sachet, or this is our new hair oil, or this is our new toothpaste, or this is our new beer drink, and this is what we want you to do for activation. Forget it. If you have a relationship, for those of you who have a relationship with Ford or Maruti or Levers or a Parachute Oil or Rajnigandha or whoever, re-examine your relationship. Check out where they are. What have they been selling? How much have they been selling? What is their need of the moment? Help them devise their program. If you go to one of these people and say, hey, I will help you the minute this lifts, I will help you go out there and remind people about what your product is and make sure that you're doing an activation which gets this product to them. Pretty much like what Zomato did. So what did Zomato do? It worked with government and said, we have the access, we will take food to the NGOs, we will help you feed all of these people. Give us permission. Government gave them permission. So in fact, just today, I get a message from my colleagues at Salam Balak Trust, who Zomato was supposed to send our supplies to, saying that, oh, that division dealing with NGOs is now not dealing with NGOs anymore, but because they're just overwhelmed by their order delivery system. So they thought out of the box for a second as to how to get the permission. Yes, they helped and they're continuing to help, but they used that to be able to deal with government as well. Domino's Pizza. I was on a call with the Domino's Pizza president a couple of days ago, informal call. Similarly, they worked with the system to see how they could be able to turn it around. So any of you guys who are working in the activation space, think differently, think out of the box. Those of you who work in communication space, the smaller companies and agencies, everybody today is fleeing the larger agencies, everybody, because they understand that the smaller agencies will understand and hear them. The smaller agencies will be cheaper. The smaller agencies will deliver faster and more effectively and get straight to the point of delivery. So again, there's an opportunity for you. I remember going back to the last world-changing event, 9/11. I was sitting in our office. We were a small organization then. 1995, 96 saw the closure of all our television. We had decided that we were going to move from television to back to the arts because we had become a factory. We had been doing 14 daily soaps, game shows, opportunities, and so on and so forth all the time. And two of our colleagues on our Saturday afternoon meetings came and said, listen, we're brain dead. We can't do this anymore. Remember, in those days, television didn't have a season. So if you had a program or programs like we did, Tolmol Ke Bol and Chuna Lagake and Newsline, you then ran it every day or every week, month after month, year after year. So we were running programs for 6 or 7 years, nonstop, every day, every week. So we were like a factory. You go to sleep at 11 o'clock, wake up at 6 o'clock. And those days there was no D&D and all our sets were in Noida Film City. It was a nightmare. So two of my colleagues came and said, listen, we're brain dead. We can't do this anymore. So I said, well, okay, if you guys don't want to do this anymore, let's shut it down. A stupidity at that point of time because I forgot that we also had bills to pay and we were very used to making money every hour on the hour or notional money because most of the time production companies like us used to actually bail out the television channels who never gave you any advance, pretty much like what we do in the event space. But it was at that point of time, we had also set up something called Friends of Music, which was our music platform where we had said no popular music and no Bollywood, but let's do stuff that was alternative. And then groups like Indian Ocean and Silk Route and Mrigya and Parikrama all found a platform out of that Friends of Music thing. And we did the same for music and theater and dance and literature. And at the same time, we started, we went from 100 odd to 50 to 30 to, I think we landed up finally with 13 or 14 people, nearly bankrupt. And as we started growing our space in the back in the art scene and we started commissioning work, I started realizing that we have so much of talent in this country, but not enough platforms to showcase them on. And meanwhile, I started growing my hair because Punita had had an accident and in Goa. And one day, our eldest son came to me and said, are you planning to grow your hair? And I said, why? He said, if you grow your hair, you can't come to my school. So I'm going, yes, no more parent-teacher day and no more, school day and annual day and all of this stuff where the teacher tells you what a bad parent you are. And because my hair has always been more sort of silver, and it's not gray, Geetika, just for the record, hair is silver. It's called silver, right? Next time. So people have always thought that I have something to say, so I've done lots of lectures. And that in the UK, because I was invited to do so many lectures and teaching assignments, I created a network. And that network built our first platform, which was at the Edinburgh Festivals, where we promoted work across the festivals, had never been done before. There, if you were at the Edinburgh Fringe, you weren't at the International. If you were the International, you didn't go to literature. If you were in literature, you didn't go to music. But we did something across and cross-marketed it. And as they say, ek baat safed chhap lag gaya na, the rest is history. So we got the safed chhap. Singapore had invited us to set up shop. And it was then 9/11 happened. And I remember we were sitting in our office in Nehru Place, in the Nehru Place apartments, which was our office. We were about to leave to catch a flight for our first big Singapore festival. And there we were glued to the television set, looking at these planes flying in, not wanting to leave. We had 32 cases, huge cases that had already headed to the airport. And when Sharupa and I landed up at the airport, we were the only people, and like the whole airport came to us like, the look on their face was, are you guys off your mind that you're traveling on this day? But we did. We showed them the intent that we could. We went to Singapore, did a hugely successful festival while the rest of the world had locked down. Rewind to the riots in the early 90s in Bombay. It was the day that our first, in those days, you recorded your television program and then you took the tape and you couriered it to Bombay, which then was seen and was sent to Kathmandu for uplinking. So it was the first tape. So I took it to Bombay, got stuck because the riots had started. Shahrukh, with whom I was staying, said, "Okay, chalo, I will drive you." I said, "You're bloody mad." So we drove down Tulsi Pipe Road with fires on both sides, arrived at SL Studios, and that first episode, because it was a trial episode, was a disaster. Our cameraman had done something bizarre, hadn't balanced the light, but because we made that effort, despite everything, got to Bombay, got to SL World, got to Subhashji, showed him the tape, the rest was safe sailing. And the reason I'm giving you these two examples is, again, these are great uncertain times. Reach out to your client and say, "This is what I'm happy to hold hands with you to do." And sure, I understand you're hurting. Please understand I'm hurting too. But together with a relationship, we'll be able to build our lives again. So at the end of this, what is most important? Renewing those relationships, rebuilding on the relationships, ensuring that your partners feel you have a value. I know that you guys come from a somewhat different space than we come from. Much of your lives are tenders. You have to do presentations, then you have to negotiate with what is the percentage that you will charge or not charge. It's a nightmare. And it will continue to be a nightmare, folks, if they don't understand and realize that you have a value. Take a feather out of Michael Menezes' cap when they were a small company. What did Michael Menezes do? He built a relationship with KP Singh of DLF. He built a relationship with some of his key sort of clients. And this wasn't a vendor, a corporate relationship. It was a relationship of equals. And this is something that I say to my colleagues every time, it's not safe sailing all the time. So we work with so many different kinds of people. And when they speak to me, it's in a particular way. And then suddenly, even if it's a partnership that we've entered into, things change. And then they start looking at us, maybe sometimes as a vendor. And I keep saying, you have to ensure that your relationship stays the course, where it's a relationship of equals, where it's not that they're always telling you what to do. You need to preempt. And I know there are some folks who are not interested in listening to you. They know best. That's okay. Where you think that they know best, give them 3 options. Say, "Hey, if this is your intent, this is what we've come up with, and this and this. Do you like any of them?" 9 times out of 10, if you go to somebody proactively, you will see that they will choose what you want them to choose. But you must have a strategy in your head to do that. And the other thing that you must remember, in order to ensure that your relationship is one of equal, where they value you, they look at you as somebody who can deliver something for them. They look at you as a thought leader in your space. And it could be the simplest thing. You could be a lighting vendor. But if you tell them, "Hey, I don't think you need 300 lights," or "Your guy has been asking me to put out 25 moving heads with 500 whatevers, but this is the alternative solution that I think will work for you better." And there is an element of cost saving in it. There's an element of efficiency, but most importantly, there's an element of creating value. So every time you have a conversation, make sure that you have a value proposition, because without that value proposition, it ain't going to work. You won't find that balance and the equilibrium. I didn't realize we're going to be running out of time. I have 3 more minutes before we open it up to questions. So I'm going to just quickly fast forward and maybe just touch upon something that I've already said to you guys before a number of times, is the power of saying no. Sure, we live in a very insecure world where none of us know where our next check is coming from, where our next work is going to come from, and when this COVID-19 shutdown thing lifts. It's not going to be life as usual. It's still going to be difficult. But work from a place of strength. If you succeed, if you survive these next few months and you come out at the end of it, which I hope as many of you will, and you will be able to do so because of your agility more than anything else and resilience. It's not going to be because of the money. Then work from from a place of strength. If you feel that something is not going to work for you, if you feel that that corporation is iffy, or they may not be able to give you money, or they're not going to pay you in time, your need is right now ensuring that your cash flows work. Walk away. Find some other thing in which to put your efforts into. I will tell you, in teamwork, as we have a number of silos, but we've redone some of that. And what we're doing over the next few weeks, and you'll see some of that, we've already announced a big new shift this week. We're creating new opportunities online. Online is not necessarily the easiest space right now because everything is online, everything is Zoom, everything is Facebook, which is the reason why this is not going live on Facebook. We don't have an opportunity because of the bandwidth anymore. But you have to find a way to be able to make even online pay. So, for example, what we're doing, using the leverage that we have through all our international partners and festivals, we will go behind the paywall at some point of time. So, for those of you in the mid segment of conferences, of seminars, of creating corporate opportunities and training spaces, ensure that you start thinking of this differently. Yes, Zoom is free, but you can do the big health and medical and economic recovery seminar, conferences, etc., not necessarily by flying them in to India or flying them to Thailand, but doing it as a paid for activity. And in paying for that activity, again, like I said, the more agile you are, the easier it will be for you to think of what is it that you can offer your client who so far you've been saying, okay, at the end, because you've delivered X number of sale figures, we'll take your sales guys, do an activation for them or an activity for them in Phuket, and we'll get money from hotels, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Think differently. Relook at what that sales guy needs in terms of the motivation. Get the best speaker maybe to come online, and you can charge for that. You can charge for creating a special AR, VR a setting for that conversation. Being able to create more 360-degree immersive aspects of what you used to do on the ground, but think online, think digital, think agile. So it's 4:41, and Deepak had given me strict instructions that to take questions for the next 20 minutes. So, and if there's not enough time for the questions, as you all know, I am happy. DM me. I just can't keep pace with the EEMA groups and all that flows through because I'm just caught up with just way too much of stuff. But thank you all. Hang in there. Yes, it's going to be difficult. There's no magic wand. I'm sorry. I would love to say that life's going to be easy on April 15th or May 15th or June 20th or August 15th. We don't know. We won't know. We won't know how this will play out. Best of luck. I think collectively we can, and hopefully we'll make a difference. Hang in there. Continue to motivate each other, motivate our colleagues, motivate those who work for us. motivate those who you're going to have to retrench, motivate those who have nothing, and reach out to them and help them. Geetika, over to you for questions. I can see some questions on my Q&A. I'm assuming you're going to decide which ones I'm taking rather than...
Sanjay, I have noted all the questions, so we're not going to hopefully miss out on even one. And let me warn you, you have many questions coming your way. So I'd want you to answer each one of them. And
yeah, remember, we only have till 5, as we know.
Silver. Yes. It's I know it's silver. The other day, since we were transmitting from my daughter happened to see you on the screen and asked me, "Hey, Mama, is that a rock star?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's president of EEMA. He has to be a rock star." So, all right, your first question. Aarti Mattu has asked us, do event agencies have an advantage over ATL considering brands will now slash their budgets? What are your tips to strategize the same in our favor?
I read a very interesting article yesterday, which says that the event and media industry will be the fastest to recover, of which events will come up to speed even faster than media. Media will somewhat die because there will not be enough advertising to be able to drive media, and you'll see that tapering off after a while. But the events industry is poised for that. I think what you need to ask yourself, Aarti, is what is it that you can do which will be vital for that corporate or that client who you have, which is going to be priceless for them. It could be an idea, it could be an activation, it could be a way for them to rebuild demand, it could be a way for them to deliver their product. Think through that, and maybe you'll find an answer in your question itself.
Okay.
Geetika, my suggestion is if you assimilate similar questions so that we're able to...
I'm doing that. So the Basum Modi has asked us, how do you think sponsorship opportunities will get impacted in the coming months?
Sponsorship opportunities worldwide has gone for a toss. For those of you, I'll give you an example in Hong Kong for our Hong Kong festival, which we postponed from February to October. All our Hong Kong sponsors, and that's a couple of million Hong Kong dollars worth, is pretty much committed. They've not just committed for our October program, they've committed for our February festival as well, 2021. Same ways, Turkey, Çelebi, who are the big airport operators. Çelebi is our naming rights sponsor. They're like, airports have shut down. We have no money. We have no business. We're really sorry. So you're going to again have to look at where you're poised. What is it that you're doing? Sponsorship has already been impacted. As you all know, we depend, I think, 50 or 55% of our incomes across Teamworks festivals is sponsorship driven. Sometimes there's 70% sponsorship driven. We saw the impact of the global and the India economic slowdown, as you've seen on Auto Expo, etc. We saw that at the Jaipur Literature Festival, where we were 20% or 25% less than, sorry, we were 30% less the number than we were hoping to achieve from last year. So there's already an impact. This on top of that will be an enormous impact in India. And there's no getting away from it. One has to relook at what that model is going to be now going forward, relook at the amount of sponsorship, where we were charging, say, 11 or 12 crores as headline sponsors. I think we would be lucky to get 3 to 4 crores, if at all, in this coming year.
That's not good news. The next question coming up from Poonam Lal. She's saying, do you feel being a medium or a small size agency is an advantage because it offers agility and ease of size? Or is it going to be death knell as predicted by industry leaders over the last few weeks? Because they're saying that the only way we'll survive is by collaborating.
Poonam, so a small and mid-size will absolutely survive. So please don't listen to any advice to the contrary. You guys are agile. You can work from home. You don't need large offices. You will have scale to your advantage or small scale to your advantage, cheaper costs. But yes, when it comes to collaboration, I think everybody needs to collaborate, not just you with somebody else. Like we're collaborating now with our back-end people in a new product. because we realize that there's resources which are limited. We've given them a stake in the new product that we're going to be rolling out, and we're going to be collaborating with them. So find your strengths. A caveat there, jumping into bed always sounds like a good idea before you actually get there. And once you jump into bed and you discover it's not so great, getting out of that relationship is far more difficult than if you think it through. Make sure that you do not do the American example of we've got a deal, shake hands, or in this case, namaste, and you're out of the door because you think you have a deal after a half an hour Zoom conversation. You need to know everything about the people who you're working with. Go to their birthday parties, go to the grandmother's birthday, go to the funeral, go to the marriage, get a sense of the philosophy. If it aligns with your philosophy, sure. Even then, it won't be easy. Two people in the room. Look at EEMA for an example. Oh my God, we try and collaborate. Whoa, it's like, it's certainly interesting and exciting, but I would do that with a lot of care and thought, but it is the way forward.
Okay, Sanjoy, Mayur Nirvani is asking, is JLF online monetizable?
We will be monetizing it, Mayur. What we're doing is we're doing it as a subscription model. So right now you have a free subscription while we build the back end, because it's a whole new thing. And in 2 weeks, I think, or is it 3 weeks? I can't remember. It'll go behind a paywall, pretty much on the lines of the NYT subscription. Every month you'll get some free, and then you'll get most of it behind the paywall.
Siddesh is asking, on an average, what percentage of business can a company expect in 2021?
So what I'm saying, I need to qualify. What I'm saying is I need to qualify. This is not the doomsday number I'm going to give you. It may not be the reality either, because every day is a different day. But the sense that we're getting for 2020 is that you lose 80% of business. Whoa. You're not going to get through social distancing till November or December, or certainly till October, hoping that Corona does not come back again, hoping that government puts in some trust building measures in place, hoping that we're able to get the fear factor behind us, hoping that supply chains come up to speed. Despite all of that, if any of you want to Google Ruchir Sharma's interview with Rajdeep Sardesai. Ruchir Sharma is head of JP Morgan in New York. He predicts, again, not that every prediction that he's done is true. So take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt, not doomsday. Keep the hope, keep the faith. But he's predicted that this will be bigger than the Great Depression. It'll take 3 to 5 years for business to get back up to normal. It will wipe out a huge percentage of jobs and business. I'm sorry that I don't have good news, but I think everybody needs to also have a reality check so that everything else that will come will be better.
No, I agree with you. A reality check right now is the only way forward. I have a question from Anthony who's saying, are some industries going to suffer more than the others? Yes, I think, of course.
Oh, absolutely. All the production stuff, everything that's outsourced for production outside of local stuff, production lines and supply chains are going to be completely disrupted. If you heard what Hardeep Puri, the Minister of Aviation, said today, he said, after the lockdown lifts, we will decide on a case-to-case basis where an airline can fly from and to. The Ministry of External Affairs has said we will decide on a case-to-case basis what countries we will issue what visas for. And if you think this is only India, this is true for across the world. Australia is looking at locking down flights for 6 months. That's not confirmed. So again, everything that I'm saying, these are not confirmed. These are predictions. Please do not quote me as this is a confirmed fact or figure.
So that was Anthony Fernandez asking you that question. We now have Siddharth Daneriwala, Sanjoy, who's saying there was an EEMA representation with FICCI. What's the feedback from the government? He'd like to know.
So Sid, there have been a number of representations, not just the one that we've said from FICCI, we've sent from CII, I've said directly to the ministers, etc. We're not hearing anything right now for any industry, let alone the event industry. But as I've said to you guys online, I still don't think we're doing enough to lobby. I don't see, yes, we're all busy with the events that we are logging onto. And I was saying to Deepak and Prakash earlier that till each of you start putting it out on social media that you are really bleeding and you all need support, that this industry needs help. Tag the Ministry of Tourism, tag PMO, tag the Ministry of Culture, tag your state government, tag the ministers. You're not going to get by my one voice alone, and I've been doing, as you know, 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. I'm on this Zoom trying to build traction. There's hundreds of industries there bleeding, greater problems that they think that they have. We don't have that kind of size yet. And on the seminar that Raghav Khosla called today, which had these 40 plus associations, again, I said to them that please, collectively, we need to be a voice. MICE, travel, inbound, adventure, tourism, hotels, collectively. We're all still doing stuff. I want. Nobody's listening. There are too many things out there. So in a nutshell, is there a feedback from there? No. Is there an indication? Some indication is what I've shared with you at the beginning of this seminar. But beyond that, I have nothing more to report back that has come back.
Sanjoy, we have a question coming up from Kantil Mehta here, but I'd like to add to something you just said. I think it would be a good idea for the government to look at probably more than one Minister of Commerce, probably more than one Minister of Finance. They have too much on their hands right now.
Well, Gitika, the good thing is that they've now created these task forces. So there are 20 task forces. We have been, or certainly I've been presenting to some of them, and I wear all hats, but I also speak on behalf of EEMA. To be fair, not everybody still knows what EEMA is, and invariably I get asked, what is it and what is it that we represent? And the saddest, I think, comment was when in one task force I was told, but artists don't need money. Artists have a lot of money. So I had to say that no, artists are not Beyonce and not Kailash Kher and Sonu Nigam.
I also feel because we'll all have to wait in line according to priority, humanized priority, as to when our turn will come in that line when they'll address our concerns. So Kantil Mehta wants to quickly know about your company's approach in the time ahead, in the immediate time ahead.
So Kantil, we've done 2-3 things. I mean, of course, till March, we're not making any great change, but in April onwards, we're taking cuts which vary from 5% to 25%. 30,000 and upwards. That's in terms of just, on ground, what is it that we're trying to do to save money. We already, those of you who read my New Year's Eve address, I'd already predicted that we were going to go through some crisis in our world of events. So we had given up one floor of our office, saved 5 lakhs a month, so saved 60 lakhs a year. We'd come together. So that was the second thing. But we'd already done that some time ago. What we are doing in terms of our products, we are realigning them. We've postponed most of everything to post-October, and then we will take a call thereafter. Some of our festivals already have their money in the bank, meaning it's a question of what's the timing for it. How are we going to last between now and October? We will be launching 4 new digital products. I won't call them festivals because festivals, you need a sharing of energy. You need to be on the ground for that. So these will be digital series, digital products that we're creating for the arts. And we're hoping that that will start creating traction in a couple of months of time.
We have 3 more minutes, Sanjoy. I'm not going to let you go. I'm going to still ask away. So I'm going to go combine a question by Sanchali Arora, an MC, Priya Sharma Sheikh, a leadership coach, and Sachin from Oxygen, their choreography and dancing services. So they're asking, what is in the future for artists? How are they going to be able to generate money? How are they going to survive? How are they going to pay their small teams till October 2020?
So it's going to be really difficult, Sanchali, and unfortunately, there's no nice way to say this. What we are doing is we are launching the Art Matters series, and we're going to try and do a fund for those artists in rural India and craftspeople who have no access. And we are hoping to be able to start that. We're running a series on that. For artists, my suggestion is that forget what your rate is, what you were charging online, or reinvent yourself to some extent, especially if you are a host or a musician. For musicians, collaborate, put out stuff, be in people's mind frame all the time, see what you can get from online, make sure that you try and get subscriptions. For MCs, etc., reach out to your corporations. Everybody still needs an MC. Ask them if they're happy to give you a couple of thousand or whatever you think you can negotiate with them to host their webinars, their seminars, their meetings, coordinate, reinvent, reinvent, reinvent.
Sanjay, we have a last question there from Pramod, who's saying, will agency size shrink as far as manpower? Pramod Gaikwad there, as far as manpower is concerned, will talent be available for hiring at better fees? I'm guessing that's what he's asking.
Pramod, I think agencies will have no choice. Again, like I said, this is a prediction coming from me, having read, understood, and heard over the last 2 weeks so much of stuff. I suspect agencies will have no choice but to let part of their workforce go. Will they be able to hire back, or will other agencies be able to hire? I think all agencies will be in the same situation. So unless somebody is saying, hey, I'm coming with Samsung with $3 billion of business wrapped up, I don't see that happening. So if you're asking, will people poach? Well, if they do, well, great. We don't want our colleagues to be out of a job. I don't see that to be a viable option. But here's a thought for everybody. For those of you, the one industry that will continue to be there is the teaching shops, the universities, the teaching shops, etc. So for those of you, the Wizcrafts, the Vijay Aroras of the world who set up the teaching shops, I don't think you'll see any let up there, because the education system will continue to keep vomiting out people who won't have a job and therefore will need a skill upgradation. So here's a thought for all of you. If you're giving talks, lectures to education stuff, etc., charge 1,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, whatever you want to. It is an opportunity. Please take it and look at it seriously. Don't worry about the lakhs and the tens of lakhs. Reorient the way the world is going to be doing business. Your needs are much less because you're at home. Your leads are much less because there isn't money. Relook at what you're doing and your priorities.
Thank you, Sanjay. It's 5 p.m. and you told me that 5 p.m. would be your wind-up time. We still have one question by Arpita Gandhi that we haven't been able to address. We'll take it offline. We have saved the chat. Almost every other question has been addressed by you. I'd urge you all watching to contribute generously to Salam Balak Trust. That's an NGO that is looked after by Sanjoy and his team, and also to the Aman Biradri Center for Equity Studies, headed by Harsh Mandar there. There's a very interesting video online, very special one called Karma Muhabbat. Do watch that. At such times, whatever little we can, we all must donate to help the poor and needy out there. Thank you once again, Sanjay.
Thank you, Geetika. Everybody keep the faith. I know it's been a bit of a gloom and doom, but like I said, where there is destruction, there is creation, there's opportunity. Be agile, be simple, don't overthink stuff. Just go out and do what you have to do. Best wishes. I'm at the end of a phone all the time for anybody who needs help. Thank you. And go out there, tweet, social media, not just the EEMA WhatsApp group, please, guys. Please use the EEMA hashtag and whatever else. Tag me. Happy to retweet. Push, push, push.
Thank you, Sanjoy. My takeaway is whenever there is destruction, there's also creation. Yes, there will be a new tomorrow, but it's going to be a different new tomorrow. And we all have to buckle up and gear up and ready ourselves for it. Lots of takeaways from this session there. Thank you once again to the president of EEMA, Sanjoy K. Roy, and thank you everyone for watching. Do generously share so we can have more and more viewers in the days ahead. This was today's programming coming to you from the EEMA Future Ready Leadership Series. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.